Mighty philosopher, we're so much grateful to be with you here tonight. I bring you a student from Belgorod, and he will be here, right, to talk much about his.
From Kenya, a student at Belgorod State Research University. I'm now almost a year into my life here. The one key difference is the cold. This place is very cold. You know, you learn in history about how Napoleon and Hitler were defeated by the Russian cold winters, but you could never you could never imagine how tough and harsh the winters are until you experience them in real life. So there is much I look forward to discussing with you about life in Belgorod and generally in Russia.
What the next question is, what brought you to Russia?
Because I'm doing my master's, obviously I came here to study. That was my main goal. I needed to further my studies, and hopefully when I go back to Kenya, I'll have a master's degree with me.
Well, it's such a very amazing transition.
Sorry to cut you off, but it is also a plus that I'll maybe go back speaking another language. It's always good when you familiarize yourself with the cultures. So this comes as additional pluses, not as minuses. I get to experience the culture, the cuisines, the history of the Russian people. These are additions to my main goal of master's degree.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Ian, and I think it's a very great information, kind of milestone, and you being an international relations student in Russia, it's really bring a very good diplomatic relation. Then the next question is, how are you feeling like about this transition so far, being in an African environment and getting along with life in Russia here?
The transition, although it was not seamless, it was better than I anticipated. The people here are very welcoming in their own way. You know, we can't expect them to be as hospitable as Africans are. But the main thing is there's no racism here. So it's very easy to interact with the different people, even people who are virtual strangers. And it has made life here more palatable to us, to myself specifically.
I think it's really very compelling, and it's such an environment in a new space. I think I agree with you. It should be very way different. Like, what were your first impression of such a place when you got to Russia and when you arrived?
When I arrived in Russia, so you'll have to forgive me because I'll keep mentioning the winters. I arrived here in the middle of winter. It was my first time experiencing winter, coming from a tropical country in Kenya, where whenever we say it's a cold day, it's mostly about 20 degrees Celsius outside. But here in Belgrade, sometimes, like today, as an example, today it was negative 18 degrees Celsius. This is an unimaginable coldness from a Kenyan perspective. So it was such a unique experience to me. The main thing is, however, there's a lot of misinformation we got to experience in Kenya due to outside media. And so the more you live in Belgrade, you'll get to experience a lot of varied cultures and experiences. You know, they are the movies make out Russia to be a desolate place where any minor inconvenience you are sent to a gulag, which is not the case.
And I would like to say, like, in one question, three questions. How does this environment compare to your previous?
It's a bit varied. In terms of the people, I said they are more welcoming and there's no racism as such. The physical environment is a bit different. The infrastructure here is plenty. Then there are a lot of boulevards and wide streets where people can walk. There are a lot of vehicles. The environment is, I think, for lack of a better word, very charming in a splendid way. It's charming. Even when you go up country, where they do the farming, Belgrade is one of the places with large scale farming. It has that charm. It is modernized agriculture. However, despite it being a modernized agricultural outlook, it still has the old charm where the farmers interact with the soil themselves. They they prefer to do some of the work physically, so it has its charm. It reminds me to some extent of an African farmer. And then when you go to the factory, like a beer factory or a cotton factory, there's still that uh, human factor in it. It is not just too mechanical, like in other places in the West where there is no human factor in it whatsoever.
It's such a very great. And then the other next question could be, what has surprised you most since you arrived?
Well, I did not want to talk about this, but the first day I came here, I I was surprised by the way the Russians use their toilets. It's quite it's quite different from the way us Africans are used to.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah?
But
You're not scared.
but once you get used to it, everything is back to normal. It just takes a little bit of learning.
Like, have you made any new friends, and how did you meet them?
Well, I'm quite relatable. It's easy for me to make friends. However, the difficult part is maintaining friends. So I did make a lot of new friends, but I need to make new friends. I did not sustain my previous friends. Yeah, so I look forward to making some new friends in the coming months.
What activities or clubs are you interested in joining? And
I joined the French club and the Russian clubs, and also this is not an official club, but I've been very keen in visiting museums and art galleries. It is a way to consume Russian culture and history. Through this, I've gotten to experience the Russian archaeological sites. Like recently, I visited an archaeology site where they found the remains of a mammoth. I've gotten to experience where the Russian people are so invigorated about the Second World War, how the huge death toll it took on the Russian population. 27 million people is such a huge number. That is half the Kenyan population. To lose such a number in just 6 year period in a war that was largely avoidable is catastrophic to say the least, and its effects are still being felt 80 years on.
we know it's such a very strange experience, and I was like, how did you cope up with such an experience? So did you feel an anxiety or kind of a homesickness, that kind of stuff, upon getting all this things?
No, I am an avid reader of history, and I've always it's my aim to not only read history but to experience it. And as much visiting these museums, seeing these mausoleums, and the memories or the monuments dedicated to this dead, the dead who died in the Second World War is a way for me to consume this history of on first-hand knowledge, not through a books or not through a documentary that may be biased to one side or another. But if you read over 5,000 names coming from a small village that at that time made maybe 10,000 people, and 5,000 of them died in the war, you can see the enormous sacrifice the Russians had to give. When you go to Stalingrad and see the siege that lasted about 2 years, led to the results of over 1 million civilian deaths, you can feel it in your bones. So it's better to consume history on a personal capacity, not through documents or documentaries that can be biased against or for a certain people.
Well, thank you so much. I think we are currently just coming to our end of program. I'm really so much honored and appreciated for seeing you here, Mr. Ian. He's very soon, he's a diplomat. He's a student from Belgorod State Research University. He's very much committed, and I know in our next episode we will be grateful enough to welcome him back again to interview him about the social connections and academic research and a lot of things. But as for now, what would he now feel to share with our study?
Now, I would say if you get the chance to come study here, please take it. It will be a very life-changing experience for you, and I think it is an adventure worth experiencing. So come to Russia, come experience the coldness of Russia, come learn why the Russian winter was able to defeat Napoleon and Hitler. It is only through experience can you learn why first not only winters are such an important geopolitical factor, but also a political tool. You'll be amazed that bananas cannot grow here because of the winters, yet apples do very well here. So you'll come and experience this on your own, and maybe you'll associate it with something that is more profound and more common in your local than myself. The banana plantations not being able to grow in Belgorod was such a eye-opening revelation. I am still amazed to this day. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. My viewers are welcome so much. And if you are there, really click on the button so you can see more updates. Thank you so much.